Chapter 3 is where we start talking about factors. We need to simplify fractions. We need to be able to multiply and divide fractions using cross-canceling. So pause, copy these down, give them a shot, and then stay tuned. So first, our quick answers, and then stay tuned for working them all out. When we are finding all of the factors of something, we have to start with one and work our way up until we get to the halfway point. So we're going to start with 1 times 60, and we're going to work our way down through the numbers. The next number is 2. 2 goes into 60 30 times. The next number is 3. 3 goes into 60 20 times. The next number is 4. 4, 125. 4 goes into 60 15 times. 5 goes into 60 12 times. 6 goes into 60 10 times. 7 does not go into 60. 8 does not go into 60. 9 does not go into 60. Then we get to 10. So we have made the halfway mark. These are all of the factors of 60. Now this is different than finding the prime factors. Prime factors means I need to get it all the way down to the numbers that are the smallest they can be when you're dividing. A prime number can only be divided by 1 and itself. So I'm going to start with 80 and I'm going to break it down. And it doesn't matter how I break it down, and I'm going to continue to break these down because these are not prime. 8 is 2 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2. 10 is 2 times 5. So now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. 2 to the 4th times 5. This is 80. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 is 80. That's prime factors. Next, we're going to simplify. Simplify means I need to make sure that there's nothing I can divide the top and the bottom by. And remember, I have to do it by the same number. Now, when I look at 12 and 30, I know they're both even, so I know that 2 goes in there. I'm going to look around for other numbers, too, because I can keep dividing by 2 or 3 or something small like that. But then I think about multiplication tables, and I realize that 12 and 30 are both divisible by 6. So I'm going to divide the top and the bottom by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2, and 30 divided by 6 is 5. And there is not a number, because 2 and 5 are both prime, there isn't a number that goes into both 2 and 5, so this is our answer. 14 and 49 are both divisible by 7. 14 divided by 7 is 2, 49 divided by 7 is 7, and this is negative. So our answer is negative 2/7. 18 divided by 0. I threw this in to remind you that anything divided by 0 means it is undefined. It is not 0. Can't be 0. You cannot divide anything into 0 groups. This one I also threw in here because this is an improper fraction and you can't leave it this way. You have to tell me how many times does 6 go into 32? When the top number, the numerator, is bigger than the denominator, you have to simplify it into a mixed number. 6 goes into 32 5 times. 5 times 6 is 30. That leaves me 2 leftovers. 2 what? 2 sixths. Now it's a lot easier to simplify this fraction because I know that 2 goes into both of these. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So my answer is 5 1/3. Then I go on into multiplying fractions. Now the key here is to remember to cross-cancel. This can really help you from getting these huge numbers. Big numbers means it's easy to make mistakes. Whereas instead of saying 24 over 36 and then trying to reduce them, I can say, well, 3 goes into both 3 and 9. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 9 3 times, 4 goes into 4 once, and 4 goes into 8 twice. And now my answer is 2/3. Because the numbers are so much smaller, it's a lot easier to not make a mistake. Here I have 4 and 18, 25 and 15. Well, these are both even numbers, and these are both divisible by 5. So I'm going to divide these by 2. 2 goes into 4 twice. 2 goes into 18 9 times. I'm going to divide these both by 5. 5 goes into 15 3 times. 5 goes into 25 5 times. Now, when I multiply straight across, I have negative 2 times 3 is 6, and 5 times 9 is 45. Well, check this out. I can say divided by 3, and I really have negative 2/15. When I have a number a whole number that I'm multiplying by, I need to put it over 1 so that I'm multiplying fraction to fraction, because I cannot multiply whole numbers or mixed numbers. So now I'm looking diagonally, and I can take a 3 out of these, and I can't take anything out of these. So 3 goes into 6 twice, 3 goes into 9 3 times. When I multiply straight across, I get 14 over 3. And I can't leave it like this. I have to make this into a mixed number, because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. So 3 goes into 14 4 times, because 3 times 4 is 12, with 2 left over. 2 what? 2/3, and that's my final answer there. When I divide, the first thing I'm going to do is flip and multiply, and the second thing I'm going to do is cross cancel. Because I can't cross cancel in division, I can only cross cancel in multiplication. So I'm going to flip this to 3/4 and multiply. So now I'm going to put this over 1, and I'm going to look at my cross canceling. 6 and 4 are both even numbers. 2 goes into both of them. 2 goes into 6 3 times. 2 goes into 4 twice. And I end up with 9 over 2. Can't leave it like this, because the numerator is bigger than the denominator. 2 goes into 9 4 times. 2 times 4 is 8. And 1 is 9. First thing I'm going to do is flip this. That gives me negative 18 over 5. So now I'm multiplying, and I'm going to look diagonally. Both of these are 5, so 5 goes into both of them. Both of these are divisible by 9, so 9 goes into 9 once and into here twice. I have a negative times a negative. My answer is going to be positive. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 1 is 1. So my answer is 2. Here I'm going to flip this and multiply, and I'm looking diagonally. 3 goes into both of these, 5 goes into both of these. So in dividing this by 3, 3 goes into 3 once and into 18 6 times. 5 goes into 5 once and into 24 times. So my answer ends up being 6 over 4. 4 goes into 6 2 times with 2 left over, which is the same as 2.5. Divide by 2, divide by 2. 2.5. To start chapter 4, we're going to find the least common multiple. We're going to add 2 problems and simplify, and then subtract 2 problems and simplify. Here are our quick answers. And stay tuned while we work them out together. When we're finding the least common multiple, we need to start, if it's not obvious, and I don't know my 30 or my 40 or my 24 times tables, so when it's not obvious, we're going to break it down into its prime factors and stack all the prime factors to find out what they have in common. So we need to start by finding the prime factors of each of these numbers. 30 is 3 times 10, which is 2 times 5. So I've got 2 times 2 times 3, and 2 times 3 times 5. And stacked, it gives me, this is 4 times 15, which is 60. So our least common multiple here is 60. Now to do 24 and 40. 24 is 6 times 4, which is 2 times 3 times 2 times 2. And 40 is 4 times 10, which is 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. So I've got 2 times 2 times 2 times 3, and 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Remember, we can't have these in the same column. So now I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5. Well, I know that this is 8 times 15. And 15 times 8, 40, 12 is 120. We use least common multiples when we're trying to add and subtract fractions with large denominators. This helps us find the common denominators that we need. And now for adding and subtracting fractions. We need to find a common denominator anytime we add or subtract. We have to add apples to apples. Can't add apples and oranges. So I've got to figure out how to make 4s and 7s the same. I've got to find a common denominator. Well, 4 and 7 both go into 28. 4 times 7 is 28, and this is 21. 7 times 4 is 28. That makes this 8. 21 plus 8 is 29 over 28. I do not add the denominators. I have 29 28ths, and I have to fix this. I can't leave the numerator bigger than the denominator. Well, 28 goes into 29 one time with 1 left over, and I keep the same denominator. Let's try it again. I've got 8ths and thirds, and to find my common denominator, multiplying them together is great, but again, if you've got large denominators, that's a pain in the neck. So you want to find a least common multiple. 8 times 3 is 24, 5 times 3 is 15, 3 times 8 is 24, 2 times 8 is 16. 15 plus 16 is 31 24ths. 24 goes into 31 once, with 7 left over, 7 24ths, and that does not reduce, so that's our answer. Then we come to subtraction. Same story, we need to find a common denominator. So 7 and 2, our common denominator is going to be 14. 7 times 2, 6 times 2 is 12, 2 times 7, that's 7, and 12 minus 7 is 5. 14. So again, our denominator stays the same, and there aren't any common factors here, so that doesn't reduce. Then we're on to fifths and fourths. Our common denominator is 20. 5 times 4 is 20. 3 times 4 is 12. Times 5 is 20. 1 times 5 is 5. 12 minus 5 is 7. That's funny. 7 20ths, and there are no common factors, so again, it is already simplified.